The darkness of space held no sound, but Admiral Kithvar could feel the power of his fleet around him. 200 ships moved through the void like hungry wolves, their purple hulls gleaming under distant starlight. The Vorthak Armada had conquered 47 worlds in the past century. Today would make it 48. Kethvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Devourer of Stars. His 4 arms crossed behind his back as he watched the tactical display. Ahead lay a small yellow star with several planets. The 3rd planet showed signs of primitive life. His scouts had reported a young species that had barely learned to travel between worlds. "Admiral," Commander Kreshita approached from the sensor station. "We are 3 hours from the target system. All ships report ready for standard conquest protocol." Kethavar nodded his massive head. The Vorthak had perfected their method over thousands of years. They would surround any defending ships, drain their power systems, and force surrender. Most species gave up without a fight once they saw the size of the Armada. Those who resisted were quickly crushed. "What do we know about their technology?" Kethvar asked. "Very primitive, Admiral. They use basic fusion power and simple projectile weapons. Our scouts detected only a few dozen ships in their entire system. Most appear to be cargo vessels." The Admiral's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Another easy victory. The Vorthak Empire would grow larger, and his reputation would grow with it. He had never lost a battle, never failed to bring a world under Vorthak control. Meanwhile, on the edge of the same star system, Captain Jamin sat in the command chair of the Soul's Fury. The human battleship was massive by Earth standards, nearly 2 kilometers long and bristling with weapons. It was humanity's newest warship, equipped with technology that pushed the limits of human science. "Captain," Lieutenant Haywan called from the sensor station, "I'm detecting multiple contacts approaching from deep space. Computer analysis suggests over 200 vessels." Jamin leaned forward. His dark eyes studied the tactical display, as red dots appeared at the edge of sensor range. Each dot represented a ship larger than anything humanity had ever built. The formation was clearly military, moving with purpose toward Earth's solar system. "Time to intercept?" he asked. "At current speed, approximately 3 hours, sir." J-Men nodded and activated the ship's communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. We have detected what appears to be an alien fleet approaching our system. This may be humanity's first contact with another intelligent species. All crew to battle stations." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. Chief Engineer Boram's voice came through the comm system from the engine room. "All systems showing green, Captain. Fusion reactors operating at 100%. Quantum torpedo systems armed and ready." At the weapons station, Tactical Officer Tejo ran final checks on the ship's armament. The Soul's Fury carried the most advanced weapons humanity had ever created. Quantum torpedoes that could convert matter directly into energy. Particle beam arrays that could cut through any known material. Point defense systems that could track and destroy thousands of targets simultaneously. "Captain," Communications Officer Minho spoke up, "I'm sending a priority message to Earth Command. Admiral Dayun should know about this." Jamin approved. The transmission. Earth's main fleet was scattered across the solar system on various missions. The Soul's Fury was alone, but it had been built for exactly this kind of situation. Humanity had always known that first contact might not be peaceful. Navigator Su Jin plotted an intercept course while the ship's advanced sensors gathered more information about the approaching fleet. The alien ships were huge, each one several times larger than the Soul's Fury. Their hulls showed an unusual purple coloring that seemed to shift and move in the starlight. "Interesting design," observed detection specialist Kyung-ho. "The hull material appears to be some kind of living metal. I'm also detecting unusual energy signatures from their power systems." Captain Jamin studied the sensor data. The alien ships moved in a formation that suggested military experience. They weren't explorers or traders. This was a war fleet, and it was heading directly for Earth. Aboard the Devourer of Stars, Admiral Kethvar reviewed the latest intelligence reports. His scouts had done their work well. The third planet, which the inhabitants called Earth, had a population of several billion. They had recently developed nuclear technology and had begun exploring their local space. Perfect timing, Kethvar thought. Species were easiest to conquer when they were just beginning to reach for the stars. They had enough technology to be useful as slaves, but not enough to mount effective resistance. "Admiral," Cressida reported, "long-range sensors detect a single ship moving to intercept us. It appears to be their largest military vessel." Kethvar's mandibles clicked in amusement. "One ship? They send one ship against the might of the Vorthak Armada?" He turned to his communications officer. "Prepare the standard surrender demand. Perhaps they will be wise enough to submit without bloodshed." The Vorthak had used the same message for centuries. It was simple and effective. Surrender completely or be destroyed. Most species chose survival over pride. Those who chose to fight rarely lasted more than a few minutes against Vorthak power-draining technology. On the Soul's Fury, the crew prepared for what might be humanity's most important battle. Defense Coordinator Young-Soo activated the ship's defensive systems. Energy shields powered up, creating an invisible barrier around the hull. Point defense weapons came online, ready to intercept incoming missiles or fighters. Chief Medical Officer Hyojin prepared the medical bay for potential casualties. She had never treated battle injuries before, but her training had prepared her for the worst. In the engineering section, Boram and her team checked every system twice. The ship's experimental technology had never been tested in real combat. "Captain," Hay-1 announced, "the alien fleet has reduced speed. They appear to be forming some kind of battle formation." Jamin watched as the alien ship spread out in a wide circle. It was clearly an encirclement maneuver, designed to surround and overwhelm a single target. The tactic might have worked against other species, but the Soul's Fury had been built with such scenarios in mind. "All stations report ready for combat," reported Tactical Officer Yoon-ji. "Quantum torpedoes loaded and targeted, particle beams charged, point defense systems online." The distance between the fleets continued to shrink. In less than an hour, humanity would make first contact with an alien species. Captain Jamin looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They showed determination and focus, but no fear. They had trained for this moment their entire careers. Admiral Kethvar felt confident as his fleet moved into position. The human ship looked impressive for a primitive vessel, but it was still just one ship against 200. No species in the galaxy had ever withstood the full might of a Vorthak Armada. "Signal the surrender demand," he ordered. "Let us see if these humans are wise enough to submit without forcing us to destroy them." The message traveled across space at the speed of light, carrying with it the ultimatum that had conquered dozens of worlds. But this time, the Vorthak would discover that some species were different. Some species didn't surrender. Some species fought back. The Soul's Fury continued its approach, humanity's first and perhaps last hope in a universe that had suddenly become much more dangerous. Captain J-Min and his crew were about to make history one way or another. The alien transmission reached the Soul's Fury exactly 53 minutes after the first detection. Lieutenant Haywan's fingers moved quickly across her console as the ship's computers worked to decode the message. The bridge fell silent, except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. "Captain," Haywan announced, "I'm receiving what appears to be a communication from the alien fleet. The computer is having some difficulty with the translation, but the basic message is clear." Captain Jamin turned his chair toward the communications station. "Put it on the main screen." The view screen flickered to life, showing the image of a massive alien creature. Admiral Kethvar's 4 arms spread wide in what was clearly meant to be an impressive display. His voice echoed across the bridge, translated by the ship's computers into simple English. "Primitive species of the 3rd planet," the alien admiral began. "I am Admiral Kethvar of the Vorthak Empire. Your world has been selected for incorporation into our domain. You will surrender all military vessels immediately and prepare your population for processing. Any resistance will result in the complete destruction of your species." The message continued for several more minutes, outlining the terms of surrender in great detail. The aliens wanted complete submission. All human technology would be examined and claimed. The population would be relocated to designated areas for what they called efficient utilization. When the message ended, the bridge remained quiet for a moment. Captain Jamin looked around at his crew. Their faces showed various emotions: anger, determination, and something else. Something that Admiral Kethvar had not expected to see. They looked almost eager. "Well," Captain Jamin said calmly, "that answers the question about their intentions." He turned to Haywan. "Prepare a response using Earth's first contact protocols." Lieutenant Haywan had memorized the first contact procedures during her academy training. Earth's leaders had spent decades preparing for this moment. They had hoped for peaceful contact, but they had also planned for this exact scenario. "Response ready, Captain," she reported. "Send it." The human response traveled back toward the alien fleet. It was much shorter than the Vorthak demand. It identified Earth as the home of humanity, explained that humans were a peaceful species, but would defend themselves if attacked, and requested that the alien fleet withdraw from human space. Admiral Kethvar received the human response with amusement. His mandibles clicked as he listened to the translation. The primitive species actually thought they could negotiate. They spoke of defense and withdrawal as if they had any power to enforce such terms. "Commander Kreshta," he called. "Did you hear that? They want us to withdraw." The bridge crew of the Devourer of Stars joined their admiral in what passed for Vorthak laughter. "Shall I send the final ultimatum, Admiral?" Kreshta asked. "Yes. Give them one more chance to surrender. Then we begin the standard attack pattern." On the Soul's Fury, Captain J-Min was reviewing the tactical situation with his senior officers. The alien fleet had continued to spread out, forming a perfect circle around the human ship's projected position. It was a classic encirclement designed to prevent escape and concentrate firepower. "They're following a very predictable pattern," observed Tactical Officer Yunji. "Every ship maintains the same distance from the center. No variation in formation depth or positioning." Chief Engineer Bo Ram spoke up from her position near the engineering station. "Captain, I've been analyzing their energy signatures. Their power systems appear to be based on some kind of energy absorption technology. I'm seeing unusual readings that suggest they might be able to drain power from other sources." This was useful information. Captain J-Min had read reports about theoretical weapons that could disable enemy ships by draining their power. If the aliens had perfected such technology, it would explain their confidence in attacking with a predictable formation. "How would such weapons affect our systems?" he asked. Bahram consulted her readings. "Hard to say without seeing them in action, Captain. Our fusion reactors operate on principles that might be different from what they're used to. The quantum torpedo systems definitely use technology they've probably never encountered." The second alien transmission arrived before Bahram could finish her analysis. This message was much shorter and delivered with obvious impatience. Admiral Kethvar's image appeared on the screen again, but this time his 4 arms were crossed in what was clearly a threatening gesture. "Humans," the Admiral said, "you have one of your time units to surrender completely. After that, we will demonstrate why 47 worlds have chosen submission over destruction. This is your final warning." The transmission ended abruptly. Captain Jamin looked around his bridge. Every member of his crew was watching him, waiting for orders. These were some of humanity's best and brightest, trained for years specifically for this kind of situation. "Haiwan," he said calmly. "Prepare." "One final transmission." "Yes, Captain. What should I tell them?" Captain Jamin thought for a moment. Throughout human history, there had been moments when entire civilizations stood at a crossroads. Moments when the courage of a few determined the fate of many. This was one of those moments. "Tell them," he said slowly, "that humanity appreciates their offer, but we must respectfully decline. Then add our own message. Come and take it." Lieutenant Haiwan's fingers hesitated over her console for just a moment. She understood the significance of those words. They were the same words that ancient human warriors had used when facing impossible odds. They meant that humans would fight, regardless of the consequences. "Message sent, Captain," she reported. Across space, Admiral Kethvar received the human response with disbelief. No species had ever responded to a Vorthak ultimatum with defiance. They surrendered, or they fled, or they begged for mercy. They did not invite attack. "Are you certain the translation is correct?" he asked his communications officer. "Yes, Admiral. The message is quite clear. They are refusing to surrender and appear to be challenging us to attack." Kethvar's massive frame trembled with rage. In over 2 centuries of military service, no primitive species had ever shown him such disrespect. The humans would learn the price of defying the Vorthak Empire. "All ships," he commanded, "begin attack formation. Prepare power drain weapons. We will show these primitives what happens to those who refuse the mercy of the Vorthak." Throughout the alien fleet, purple energy began to build around the weapon arrays. The Vorthak had perfected their power-draining technology over thousands of years. It could disable any known power source, leaving enemy ships helpless in space. On the Soul's Fury, the crew made final preparations for battle. Weapons Officer Teho armed all torpedo tubes and charged the particle beam arrays. Navigator Su-Jin calculated optimal maneuvering courses. Communications Officer Min-Ho opened a secure channel to Earth Command, ready to transmit a complete record of the battle. "All stations report ready, Captain," announced Tactical Officer Yunji. Captain Jamin looked out at the approaching alien fleet. 200 ships against 1. Any reasonable analysis would call it hopeless. But the Soul's Fury was not just any ship, and her crew was not just any crew. They represented the best of human technology and the finest of human courage. "Very well," he said. "All hands, this is the captain. We are about to engage an alien fleet in humanity's first space battle. Remember your training. Trust your equipment and show them what humans can do. The distance between the fleets continued to shrink. In minutes, the battle would begin. Admiral Kethvar was confident that his superior numbers and proven technology would bring quick victory. Captain J-Min was determined to prove that humans were not so easily conquered. Neither commander knew that this battle would change the galaxy forever. Admiral Kethvar studied the tactical display with satisfaction. His fleet had formed a perfect circle around the lone human ship, each vessel positioned at precisely the right distance to maximize their power-draining weapons. The formation had worked against every species they had ever encountered. Distance to target? He asked. Optimal firing range in 12 minutes, Admiral, reported his tactical officer. All ships report power drain weapons charged and ready. Kethvar nodded, his massive head. The humans had chosen death over wisdom. Their single ship would soon learn why the Vorthak Empire had conquered nearly 50 worlds. The power drain weapons would shut down their primitive systems in seconds, leaving them helpless and drifting. Admiral, Commander Kreshta approached, with a data pad. Analysis of the human ship shows standard fusion power signatures. Their weapons appear to be basic projectile systems with some energy components. Nothing we haven't seen before. Excellent. Signal all ships to prepare for standard power drain attack. Once their systems are disabled, we will board their vessel and examine their technology. Throughout the Vorthak fleet, purple energy began to build around weapon arrays. The alien ships looked like predators preparing to strike, their hulls glowing with deadly power. Each vessel was 3 times the size of the human battleship, and their combined firepower had leveled entire cities. On the Soul's Fury, Captain J-Min watched the alien formation with professional interest. The encirclement was textbook perfect, designed to prevent escape and focus maximum firepower on a single target. It would have been effective against most opponents. Captain, reported detection specialist Kyung Ho, I'm reading massive energy buildup across the alien fleet. Power signatures unlike anything in our databases. Recommend immediate evasive action. Captain J-Min remained calm. Maintain current course and speed. All stations, prepare for incoming fire. Chief Engineer Boram's voice came through the comm system from the engineering deck. Captain, I'm monitoring their energy patterns. It looks like some kind of directed energy weapon, but the frequency is all wrong for standard particle beams or lasers. Can you determine their intended effect? J-Min asked. Still analyzing, sir. Whatever they're planning, it's not designed to destroy us outright. The energy pattern suggests they want to disable rather than destroy. This confirmed Captain J-Min's suspicions. The aliens wanted to capture human technology intact. Their formation and weapon choices all pointed to a capture mission rather than simple destruction. It was useful information, but it also meant the aliens were confident they could disable the Soul's Fury without significant resistance. Navigator Su Jin reported from her station. Course plotted for evasive maneuvers, Captain. We can break their formation if needed. Not yet, J-Min replied. Let's see what they can do first. At the weapons console, Tactical Officer Tae-ho made final preparations. The quantum torpedo tubes were loaded with humanity's most advanced warheads. Each torpedo contained enough antimatter to vaporize a small moon. The particle beam arrays were charged and ready, capable of cutting through any known material. Weapons. Ready, Captain, Tae-ho reported. All systems showing green. Admiral Kethvar watched the countdown timer on his tactical display. In 60 seconds, his fleet would demonstrate Vorthak superiority once again. The human ship continued on its current course, showing no sign of fear or attempt to escape. Primitive. Fools, he thought. They probably don't even understand what's about to happen to them. 30 seconds to optimal range, Admiral, his tactical officer announced. Kethvar raised one of his 4 arms. All ships, prepare to fire on my command. The Vorthak fleet bristled with purple energy. 200 ships focused their power-draining weapons on the single human battleship. The aliens had never failed to disable an enemy vessel with this tactic. Today would be no different. Fire, Admiral Kethvar commanded. Purple beams lanced through space, converging on the Soul's fury from all directions. The power-drain weapons struck the human ship's hull with devastating force, designed to penetrate any shielding and drain the power from the vessel's systems. On the Soul's fury, every crew member felt the impact as the alien weapons struck their ship. The lights flickered for just a moment, and several crew members braced themselves for the expected power failure. But the lights came back on. Chief Engineer Bo-Ram's voice came through the comm system, steady and professional. Captain, all systems operating normally. No power drain detected. Whatever they just hit us with, it had no effect on our fusion reactors. Captain Jamin allowed himself a small smile. Understood, Chief. All stations, maintain battle readiness. Aboard the Devourer of Stars, Admiral Kethvar stared at his tactical display in confusion. The power drain weapons had struck the human ship directly. According to his sensors, the beams had penetrated the target and should have disabled every power system on board. But the human ship was still moving at full speed, all systems apparently functioning normally. Status report, he demanded. Unknown, Admiral, his tactical officer replied, fear creeping into his voice. All weapons fired successfully and struck the target, but there's no indication of power drain or system failure. Commander Kreshata checked the readings twice before speaking. Admiral, their fusion reactors are still operating at full capacity. Whatever our weapons did, they had no effect. Kethvar's mandibles clicked in disbelief. The power drain weapons had never failed before. They worked by absorbing energy directly from an enemy's power source, leaving their ships dead in space. It was impossible for them to have no effect. Fire again, he ordered. Maximum power to all arrays. The second volley was even more intense than the first. Purple energy filled space around the Soul's fury as 200 ships focused their full power on the human vessel. The alien weapons were designed to drain the energy from entire space stations. Chief Engineer Bo-Ram reported again from the engineering deck. Second attack had no effect, Captain. Actually, I'm starting to understand their technology. They're trying to drain energy from our power systems, but human fusion reactors work completely differently from what they expect. Explain. Captain Jamin requested. Their weapons are designed to absorb energy that's already been generated and stored, but our reactors create energy through matter conversion at the quantum level. There's nothing for them to drain. Captain Jamin nodded in understanding. The aliens had built their entire military strategy around a single type of weapon. When that weapon failed, they had no backup plan. Captain, Tactical Officer Yun-ji announced, the alien fleet appears to be in some kind of confusion. Several ships have broken formation. Admiral Kethvar was indeed confused. In over 2 centuries of military service, he had never encountered a species immune to Vorthak power drain technology. Every ship in the galaxy used some form of stored energy that could be absorbed and redirected. How is this possible? He demanded from his science officer. Unknown, Admiral. Our weapons are functioning perfectly, but they appear to have no effect on the human power systems. For the first time in his long career, Admiral Kethvar felt a moment of doubt. The Vorthak Empire had built its expansion on the certainty that their weapons could disable any enemy. If the humans were immune to power drain attacks, it changed everything. But Kethvar was not ready to admit defeat. He had 200 ships against one. Even without power drain weapons, sheer numbers would prevail. All ships, he commanded, prepare conventional weapons. We will destroy them with overwhelming firepower. On the Soul's Fury, Captain J. Min watched the alien fleet reorganize for a different type of attack. The opportunity for surprise was passing. Soon the aliens would realize that conventional weapons might be more effective than their exotic technology. "All hands," he announced over the ship's communication system. "The enemy's initial attack has failed. Prepare to return fire." The Soul's Fury had taken the aliens' best shot and emerged undamaged. Now it was humanity's turn to show what they could do. The moment of silence stretched across space like a held breath. Admiral Kethvar stared at his tactical display, watching the human ship continue its steady approach. 2 full volleys of power drain weapons had struck their target with perfect accuracy, yet the primitive vessel showed no signs of damage or system failure. "This is impossible," Kethvar muttered, his 4 arms trembling with rage and confusion. "No species has ever resisted our power drain technology." Commander Kreshita approached cautiously. "Admiral, perhaps their technology is more advanced than our scouts reported. The energy signatures from their ship are unlike anything in our databases." "Advanced?" Kethvar's voice rose to a roar. "They are primitives who have barely learned to leave their home system. Our empire spans half the galaxy." But even as he spoke, doubt crept into the Admiral's mind. The human ship moved with purpose and precision. Its approach vector was perfect for engaging multiple targets simultaneously. These were not the actions of panicked primitives. On the Soul's Fury, Captain J. Mean felt the tension on the bridge as his crew waited for orders. The alien weapons had failed completely, giving humanity its first tactical advantage. But the enemy still outnumbered them 200 to 1. "Captain," Weapons Officer Tejo reported, "quantum torpedoes locked onto multiple targets. Particle beam arrays charged and ready." "Defense Coordinator Young Soo," Jamin called, "status of our defensive systems?" "Energy shields at maximum power, Captain. Point defense systems tracking all enemy vessels. We're ready for whatever they throw at us next." Captain Jamin studied the tactical display. The alien fleet was spreading out, trying to surround his ship from all angles. It was a logical tactic, but it also spread their firepower thin and created gaps in their formation. "Navigator Su Jin, plot a course through their formation. Maximum speed." "Course plotted, Captain. We can punch through their line before they can close the circle." Jamin nodded. The Soul's Fury had been designed for exactly this type of engagement. Fast, heavily armed, and protected by the most advanced defensive systems humanity could build. It was time to show the aliens what human engineering could accomplish. "All hands, this is the captain. We are about to engage the enemy fleet. Remember, your training and trust your equipment. Today we fight not just for our ship, but for all of humanity." Admiral Kethvar was still struggling to understand how his power drain weapons had failed when his tactical officer shouted a warning. "Admiral, the human ship is accelerating directly toward our formation, speed increasing rapidly." Kethvar spun toward the tactical display. The human vessel was indeed moving faster, heading straight for a gap between 2 of his ships. The maneuver was bold to the point of madness. "All ships, conventional weapons only. Concentrate fire on the human vessel. Destroy it before it reaches our lines." Energy beams and projectile weapons erupted from dozens of alien ships. Purple and green fire filled space around the Soul's Fury, as the Vorthak fleet opened fire with everything they had except their useless power drain weapons. Incoming fire, announced detection specialist Kyung-ho. Multiple energy signatures. Estimate 200 separate weapon systems targeting our ship. Evasive maneuvers, Captain Jamin ordered calmly. Return fire, at will. Navigator Sujin's hands flew over her controls as the Soul's Fury began a complex evasion pattern. The ship twisted and rolled through space, its advanced maneuvering systems allowing it to change direction in ways that would crush an unprotected crew. The alien fire filled space where the human ship had been moments before. A few energy beams struck the Soul's Fury's shields, causing brief flares of light, but the defensive systems held firm. Shields holding at 97%, reported Young-Soo. No hull damage. Captain Jamin smiled grimly. The alien weapons were powerful, but not accurate. Their ships were too large and slow to track a fast-moving target effectively. Tae-ho, you may fire when ready. Weapons Officer Tae-ho had been waiting for this moment his entire career. His fingers moved across the targeting controls with practiced precision, selecting the most threatening enemy vessels. Quantum torpedoes away, he announced. 4 streaks of light erupted from the Soul's Fury, each one targeted at a different alien ship. The quantum torpedoes were humanity's most advanced weapons, each one containing enough antimatter to destroy a small asteroid. Admiral Keth Var watched in horror as the human weapons approached his ships. The projectiles moved faster than anything he had ever seen, too fast for his vessel's defensive systems to track. The first torpedo struck the heavy cruiser Bone Crusher amidships. The antimatter warhead detonated with the force of a small star, converting matter directly into energy. The alien ship simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant of incredible heat and light. The second torpedo found the destroyer swift death. The smaller vessel had no chance against a weapon designed to crack open heavily armored battleships. It exploded in a brilliant flash that could be seen from thousands of kilometers away. The third and fourth torpedoes struck their targets simultaneously. 2 more Vorthak ships were reduced to expanding clouds of superheated plasma, their crews dead before they knew what had hit them. 4 ships destroyed, reported Kreshta, his voice hollow with shock. No survivors detected. Admiral Kethvar stared at the tactical display in disbelief. 4 ships destroyed by 4 weapons. The primitive humans had just demonstrated firepower that exceeded anything in the Vorthak arsenal. How is this possible? He demanded. What kind of weapons are those? But his science officer had no answers. The human weapons were unlike anything in their databases. The energy release from each impact suggested matter-antimatter annihilation, but such technology was supposed to be beyond any primitive species. On the Soul's Fury, the crew watched the destruction of the alien ships with grim satisfaction. The enemy had come to conquer humanity, but they were learning that humans were not defenseless prey. Excellent shooting, Tae-ho, Captain Jamin commented. Reload all tubes and prepare for the next volley. Already in progress, Captain. Torpedo tubes will be ready in 30 seconds. The Soul's Fury continued its high-speed approach, weaving between enemy fire with impossible agility. The alien fleet was in chaos, trying to adjust their formation, to deal with an enemy that moved faster and hit harder than anything they had ever faced. Captain, Navigator Sujin announced, we'll reach their formation in 2 minutes. Recommend we target their largest ships first. Agreed. Tae-ho, prioritize battleships and heavy cruisers. Young-Soo, prepare point defense systems for close engagement. Admiral Kethvar was learning what it meant to face an enemy that didn't follow the rules. The humans fought with weapons and tactics that no Vorthak commander had ever encountered. Their ship moved like a fighter, but hit like a battleship. "All ships, close formation," he ordered desperately. "Concentrate fire on the human vessel. We must stop it before it reaches our lines." But it was too late. The Soul's fury was already among them, moving too fast and hitting too hard for the Vorthak fleet to respond effectively. The aliens had expected an easy conquest, but they had found something much more dangerous. They had found humanity at war. The Soul's fury plunged into the alien formation like a blade through silk. Captain Jamin watched the tactical display as his ship weaved between enemy vessels that seemed to move in slow motion compared to his battleship's incredible speed. "Navigator, Sujin, bring us around the enemy flagship. I want to get a closer look at their command ship." "Aye, Captain. Plotting intercept course." The human battleship rolled to starboard, its advanced inertial compensators keeping the crew comfortable, despite G-forces that would have crushed any unprotected being. Around them, Vorthak ships struggled to track their movements, their massive hulls too slow to keep up with the Soul's fury's rapid course changes. "Tay-ho, target that heavy cruiser to our port. 2 torpedoes." Weapons Officer Tay-ho locked on 2, the alien ship, and fired. The quantum torpedoes streaked through space, their matter-antimatter warheads primed for maximum destruction. The Vorthak vessel tried to turn away, but it was far too slow. Both torpedoes struck within seconds of each other. The first punched through the alien hull like it was made of paper. The second detonated deep inside the ship's core, converting several tons of matter into pure energy. The heavy cruiser broke apart in a massive explosion that sent debris flying in all directions. "Target destroyed," Tay-ho reported calmly. "Reloading tubes 3 and 4. Admiral Kethvar watched another of his ships die and felt something he had never experienced before in battle: fear. The human vessel moved through his formation like a predator among prey, destroying ships with casual efficiency. "How many have we lost?" he demanded. Commander Kreshta checked the tactical board. 17 ships destroyed, Admiral. The human vessel appears to be targeting our heaviest units first." 17 ships? Kethavar's voice cracked with disbelief. "How is one primitive vessel destroying 17 of our ships?" But even as he asked the question, he could see the answer on his tactical display. The human ship was faster, more maneuverable, and carried weapons that could destroy any Vorthak vessel with a single hit. It was like watching a shark attack, a school of fish. On the Soul's Fury, Tactical Officer Yunji coordinated the ship's movements with military precision. "Captain, recommend we focus on their battleships. If we can eliminate their heavy units, the smaller ships won't be able to threaten us effectively." Captain Jamin nodded. "Agreed. Sujin, plot a course that takes us past their 3 largest vessels. Tay-ho, prepare for rapid-fire engagement." The Soul's Fury accelerated toward the center of the alien formation, where the largest Vorthak ships struggled to bring their weapons to bear. The enemy vessels were impressive by any standard, each one larger than a human city, but they moved like floating islands compared to the Soul's Fury's deadly grace. "Multiple targets locked," Tay-ho announced. "All tubes ready. Fire at will." 8 quantum torpedoes launched simultaneously, each one targeted at a different section of the nearest Vorthak battleship. The alien vessel tried to defend itself with point defense weapons, but the human torpedoes were too fast and too numerous. The first torpedo struck the ship's forward weapon array, vaporizing an entire section of the hull. The second and third hit the bridge tower, eliminating the ship's command structure in a flash of antimatter fire. The remaining torpedoes found the ship's power core and engine sections. The Vorthak battleship died in stages, each torpedo impact removing another vital system until the massive vessel was nothing more than a drifting hulk. Secondary explosions rippled through the wreckage as ammunition stores and fuel tanks added to the destruction. "Battleship eliminated," reported Yunji. "No escape pods detected." Chief Engineer Boram's voice came through the comm system from the engine room. "Captain, all systems operating at peak efficiency. The aliens haven't even scratched our shields." "Understood. Chief, keep those reactors running hot. We're not done yet." Detection specialist Kyung Ho monitored the alien fleet's movements and saw something that made him smile. "Captain, the enemy formation is starting to break apart. Several ships are trying to withdraw from the engagement zone." Captain Jae-min studied the tactical display. The alien admiral was losing control of his fleet. Ships that had started the II battle in perfect formation were now scattered across space, some trying to flee while others continued to attack with decreasing effectiveness. "They're learning that numbers don't matter if you can't hit your target," he observed. "Sujin, take us after those fleeing ships. We can't let them escape to report our capabilities." Navigator Sujin plotted a pursuit course, while the Soul's Fury continued its deadly dance through the alien formation. Behind them, the wreckage of 23 Vorthak ships drifted in expanding clouds of debris and superheated gas. Admiral Kethvar was no longer thinking about conquest. He was thinking about survival. The human ship had carved through his fleet like a hot knife through ice, destroying some of his most powerful vessels without taking any significant damage in return. "Signal the fleet," he ordered. "All ships are to concentrate fire on the human vessel. Ignore targeting protocols and just shoot at it." "Admiral," Kreshta protested, "that will create a massive crossfire. We might hit our own ships. Better to lose a few ships to friendly fire than to lose the entire fleet to these humans," Kethvar replied grimly. The Vorthak fleet opened fire with everything they had, filling space around the Soul's Fury with a deadly web of energy beams and projectiles. The human ship weaved through the barrage with impossible agility, its pilot somehow finding gaps in the crossfire that seemed too small for any vessel to navigate. "Incoming fire from all directions," reported Young-Soo. "Shields holding at 85%. Evasive pattern Delta," Captain Jae-min ordered. "Show them what human piloting can do." Navigator Sujin's hands moved over her controls like a pianist playing a complex symphony. The Soul's Fury twisted and rolled through space, accelerating and decelerating in patterns that defied prediction. The alien gunners couldn't track their movements, and most of their shots went wide. "Captain," Communications Officer Min Ho announced. "I'm receiving a transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Dae-un wants a status report." "Tell the Admiral that first contact is proceeding according to plan," Jae-min replied with dry humor. "We're giving them a proper human welcome." The battle continued to rage around them, but the outcome was becoming clear. The Vorthak fleet had started with overwhelming numerical superiority, but they were fighting an enemy that operated by completely different rules. The Soul's Fury was faster, more maneuverable, and carried weapons that could destroy any alien ship with ease. More importantly, its crew fought with a precision and determination that the Vorthak had never encountered. "Tae-ho, target their flagship. It's time to introduce ourselves to their admiral properly." Weapons Officer Tae-ho smiled as he locked onto the massive devourer of stars. "Targeting their command ship, Captain. 6 torpedoes ready." "Fire." The quantum torpedoes streaked toward Admiral Kethavar's flagship, their antimatter warheads armed and ready. The Vorthak admiral watched them approach with the horrifying realization that his ship was about to become another casualty in humanity's introduction to the galaxy. The Soul's fury had turned the tide of battle through superior technology, better tactics, and the unshakable courage of its human crew. The aliens had come to conquer Earth, but they were learning that some species could not be conquered. They were learning what it meant to fight humans. Admiral Kethavar watched the quantum torpedoes approaching his flagship and felt death reaching for him across the void. The human weapons moved faster than anything in his arsenal, and he knew the devourer of stars could not evade them all. "Hands, brace for impact!" he commanded over the ship's communication system. The first torpedo struck the flagship's forward shields with devastating force. The Vorthak defensive systems, designed to stop conventional energy weapons, offered no protection against antimatter annihilation. The shield generators overloaded and exploded in cascades of purple fire. The second torpedo punched through the hull near the main weapon array, vaporizing 3 decks and killing hundreds of crew members instantly. The third and fourth torpedoes struck the ship's massive engine section, crippling the devourer of stars and leaving it drifting helplessly. But the flagship's thick armor and redundant systems kept it from being completely destroyed. Admiral Kethavar found himself still alive, though his ship was mortally wounded and his fleet was dying around him. "Damage report," he demanded, his voice hoarse with shock. Commander Kreshta struggled to read his console through the smoke and sparks filling the bridge. "Main engines offline. Weapon systems destroyed. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 15. We're losing atmosphere and power." Kethavar looked at the tactical display and saw the full extent of the disaster. Over 60 of his ships were gone, reduced to glowing debris by the relentless human attack. The remaining vessels were scattered and demoralized, many of them trying to flee the engagement zone. "How is this possible?" he whispered. "We are the Vorthak Empire. We have conquered 47 worlds. How can one primitive ship defeat our entire armada?" On the Soul's fury, Captain J. Mean surveyed the battlefield with professional satisfaction. The alien fleet was broken, its formation shattered, and its ships fleeing in all directions. More than half their vessels had been destroyed, and the remainder posed no significant threat. "Status report," he requested. Tactical Officer Yunji consulted her displays. 63 enemy ships confirmed destroyed. Approximately 130 vessels remaining, but most are retreating. Our shields are at 72%. No hull damage. "Casualties?" Chief Medical Officer Hai Jin responded from the medical bay. "Minor injuries only, Captain. Ensign Park has a bruised shoulder from the last evasive maneuver, and Lieutenant Kim needs treatment for a plasma burn from a damaged console. Nothing serious." Captain Jamin nodded. His crew had performed magnificently, fighting with skill and courage against impossible odds. They had proven that humans could defend themselves against any threat, no matter how overwhelming it might seem. "Communications Officer Minho, any response from the fleeing ships?" "Negative, Captain. They appear to be running silent. Several ships are transmitting what might be distress calls, but they're using encryption we can't break. Let them go," Jamin decided. "They'll carry word of this battle back to their empire. Let them tell their leaders what happens when they threaten humanity." Admiral Kethavar struggled to understand how his conquest had become a catastrophe. The humans had technology that surpassed anything in the Vorthak databases. Their single ship had moved like a living thing, striking with precision and deadly force. But more than their technology, it was their fighting spirit that had impressed and terrified him. The human crew had shown no fear, no hesitation, no mercy. They fought like warriors born for battle, and they had turned his overwhelming advantage into a crushing defeat. "Admiral," Kreshta reported grimly, "the human ship is approaching our position. What are your orders?" Kethvar looked at his ruined bridge and considered his options. The Devourer of Stars was crippled, its weapons destroyed, and its engines dead. His fleet was scattered and broken. He had no choice but to surrender or die. "Open a communication channel to the human ship," he ordered. On the Soul's Fury, Lieutenant Hay-1 detected the incoming transmission from the alien flagship. "Captain, we're receiving a communication from the enemy command ship. Put it on screen." Admiral Kethvar appeared on the view screen, his 4 arms spread in what was clearly a gesture of defeat. His massive frame was slumped with exhaustion, and his voice carried the weight of total failure. "Human Captain," he began slowly, "I am Admiral Kethvar of the Vorthak Empire. My fleet is defeated, and my ship is dying. I request terms for surrender." Captain Jamin studied the alien admiral for a moment. This was the being who had come to conquer Earth, who had demanded humanity's complete submission. Now he sat among the wreckage of his fleet, begging for mercy. "Admiral Kethvar," Jamin replied calmly, "you came to our system with 200 ships and demanded our surrender. You threatened to destroy our entire species if we resisted. Now you ask for mercy when you have none left to give." Kethvar's mandibles clicked nervously. "Captain, I understand your anger, but surely you do not wish to destroy helpless survivors. The Vorthak Empire can offer compensation for this misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" Captain Jamin's voice remained level, but his crew could hear the steel beneath his words. "You threatened genocide, Admiral. You came here to enslave my species. That was not a misunderstanding." The alien admiral's composure finally cracked. "Please, human captain, my crew is dying. We cannot fight back. Show mercy to those who can no longer threaten you." Captain Jamin considered the request. His first instinct was to finish what the aliens had started, to eliminate the threat completely. But humanity had always prided itself on being better than its enemies. "Very well, Admiral. Here are my terms. Your surviving ships will withdraw from human space immediately. You will transmit a complete record of this engagement to your empire, and you will deliver a message to your leaders." "What message?" Kethvar asked. "Tell them that humanity is not interested in conquest or empire. We want only to be left alone. But if any alien force threatens Earth or human colonies, they will face the same fate as your fleet. We are a peaceful species, but we are not helpless prey." Admiral Kethvar nodded slowly. "I will deliver your message, Captain. The Vorthak Empire will remember this day." "See that you do," Captain Jamin replied. "Now gather your survivors and leave our space. You have 1 hour before we resume firing." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge of the Soul's Fury in silence. Captain Jamin looked around at his crew, seeing pride and relief in their faces. They had fought humanity's first space battle and emerged victorious. "Captain," Navigator Sujin announced, "the surviving alien ships are withdrawing. They're heading out of the system at maximum speed. Let them go. They'll carry word of this battle across the galaxy. Other species will learn that Earth is defended by more than just good intentions." Detection Specialist Kyung-ho reported from his station. "Captain, I'm detecting several escape pods from the destroyed ships. Some of the alien crew survived. Coordinate with Medical Officer Hyejin to recover the survivors. They're prisoners of war now, and we'll treat them according to human standards." As the Soul's Fury began rescue operations, Captain J-Min reflected on what they had accomplished. One human ship had defeated an alien armada through superior technology, better tactics, and the courage of his crew. The galaxy would never be the same. The remaining Vorthak ships limped away from the battlefield like wounded animals fleeing a predator. Admiral Kethvar watched from his damaged bridge as the human battleship continued its rescue operations, pulling alien survivors from the wreckage of what had once been the pride of the Vorthak Empire. "Final casualty report," he requested, though he dreaded the answer. Commander Kreshta's voice was hollow as he read from his damaged console. 167 ships destroyed or so badly damaged they cannot make the journey home. Estimated crew casualties exceed 200,000. The Devourer of Stars is barely space-worthy. Kethvar felt the weight of those numbers like physical blows. 200,000 Vorthak warriors, dead or missing. Ships that had taken decades to build, reduced to drifting scrap in a matter of hours. All destroyed by a single human vessel. How? Long until the remaining ships reached the edge of the system? He asked. At current speed, approximately 4 hours, Admiral. But many ships are reporting critical damage. We may lose more vessels during the withdrawal. The Admiral nodded grimly. The humans had given them 1 hour to leave, but even their mercy came with an implied threat. The human captain could have destroyed every surviving ship if he had chosen to do so. On the Soul's Fury, rescue operations continued with efficient precision. Medical Officer Haye Jin had converted 2 cargo bays into emergency medical facilities for the alien survivors. The human crew worked to save the lives of beings who had come to destroy them only hours before. "Status of the rescue operations?" Captain Jamin asked. "We've recovered 43 survivors so far," reported Heejin. "Most are suffering from decompression injuries and plasma burns. Their physiology is different from humans, but the basic principles of trauma medicine still apply." Captain Jamin nodded approvingly. "Continue the operations. We'll give them the best medical care we can provide." Communications Officer Min Ho received a priority transmission from Earth Command. "Captain, Admiral Dayun is requesting a full tactical report on the engagement. Tell the Admiral that we'll transmit a complete after-action report once rescue. Operations are complete. Also inform her that we have alien prisoners who will require specialized facilities." A new voice joined the conversation as Chief Engineer Boram called from the engine room. "Captain, I've been analyzing the weapon impacts on our hull. The alien energy weapons barely scratched our armor, and their projectile weapons couldn't penetrate our shields. What's your assessment of their technology level? Impressive in some ways, but fundamentally limited. They appear to have focused all their research on power drain weapons and neglected conventional firepower. When their primary weapons failed, they had no effective backup systems." This confirmed Captain Jamin's tactical analysis. The Vorthak had built their entire military strategy around a single type of weapon. When that weapon proved ineffective, against human technology, their overwhelming numerical advantage became meaningless. "Captain," Detection Specialist Kyung Ho announced, "I'm detecting a new contact approaching from the outer system. It's transmitting human identification codes." Captain Jamin turned toward the sensor station. "Identify the contact." "It's the Battleship Busan's Pride, Captain. Admiral Dayun's flagship is leading a full battle group toward our position." The main view screen flickered to life, showing the approaching human fleet. 12 ships in perfect formation, led by humanity's most advanced battleship. Captain Jamin felt a surge of pride as he watched his fellow humans respond to the alien threat. Admiral Dayun's image appeared on the communications screen. She was a small woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen decades of military service. Her voice carried the authority of someone who had spent a lifetime defending human space. Captain Jamin, report on the engagement. Admiral, the alien fleet has been defeated. We destroyed over 160 ships with minimal damage to the Soul's Fury. The remaining enemy vessels are withdrawing from human space. Admiral Da Yun's expression showed both relief and amazement. You defeated a fleet of 200 ships with a single vessel? Yes, Admiral. Their primary weapons were ineffective against our technology, and their conventional weapons couldn't penetrate our defenses. We had significant advantages in speed, maneuverability, and firepower. Outstanding work, Captain. We'll take over rescue operations and prisoner processing. Earth Command wants a full technical analysis of the alien technology. As the human battle group took position around the Soul's Fury, Captain Jamin reflected on what they had learned. The galaxy contained hostile aliens with advanced technology and the willingness to use it for conquest. But it also contained species that could be defeated by superior human engineering and tactics. Admiral Kethvar received his own update as the damaged devourer of stars struggled toward the edge of the system. His science officer had completed a preliminary analysis of the human weapons and technology. Admiral, the human ship uses matter-antimatter annihilation for both power and weapons. Their defensive systems are based on energy manipulation fields. We don't understand. Most significantly, their ship moved with acceleration and maneuverability that should have killed any organic crew. How is that possible? Kethvar demanded. Unknown, Admiral. Either they have inertial compensation technology far beyond ours, or their species is physically much more resilient than our intelligence suggested. The Admiral considered this information. The humans had technology that exceeded Vorthak capabilities. In every significant area, their single ship had capabilities that matched or surpassed an entire Vorthak battle fleet. Prepare a complete report for High Command, he ordered. Include all sensor data from the engagement. The Empire must know what we've encountered here. On the Soul's Fury, Captain Jamin prepared his own report for Earth Command. The engagement had lasted less than 6 hours, but it would change the course of human history. First contact with an alien species had been violent and decisive. Captain, Tactical Officer Yunji announced, Admiral Da-un is requesting permission to come aboard. Permission granted. Have the crew prepare for formal inspection. As the human battle group took over the rescue operations, Captain Jamin looked out at the debris field that marked humanity's first space battle. Hundreds of alien ships had been destroyed, but thousands of human lives had been saved. The Soul's Fury had proven that Earth could defend itself against any threat. Human technology, human tactics, and human courage had prevailed against overwhelming odds. The galaxy would learn that humanity was not easy prey. In the depths of space, Admiral Kethvar's battered fleet continued its retreat. Behind them, they left the wreckage of Vorthak's superiority and the beginning of a new era, an era in which humans would take their place among the stars not as victims, but as warriors. The age of human expansion was about to begin. 3 months after the battle, Captain Jamin stood on the observation deck of the Soul's Fury and watched the construction of humanity's first deep space station. The massive structure grew larger each day as human engineering crews worked around the clock to establish a permanent presence in the outer system. The station would serve as both an early warning system and a forward base for the expanding human fleet. 12 new battleships were under construction in Earth's shipyards, each one incorporating lessons learned from the first alien encounter. Captain, Communications Officer Minho approached with a data pad. We're receiving transmission reports from across the galaxy. News of the battle has spread much faster than we expected. Jamin took the pad and reviewed the intelligence summaries. Human listening posts had detected alien communications discussing the defeat of the Vorthak Armada. Some species expressed relief that the aggressive empire had finally met its match. Others seemed worried about the emergence of a new military power. "Any direct contact attempts?" he asked. 17 different species have sent diplomatic communications to Earth. Most are offering trade agreements or mutual defense pacts. A few are requesting technical assistance against Vorthak forces in their own territories. Captain Jamin nodded. The galaxy was beginning to recognize that humanity was now a major player in interstellar affairs. The single battle had elevated Earth from an unknown world to a respected power virtually overnight. Admiral Da Yun approached from the direction of the ship's conference room. She had been aboard the Soul's Fury for the past week, conducting detailed debriefings with the crew and analyzing captured Vorthak technology. "Captain, I've just finished reviewing the final technical reports. Our science teams have made some interesting discoveries about alien technology." "What did they find, Admiral?" "The Vorthak power drain weapons are actually quite sophisticated, but they're designed to work against energy storage systems that most galactic civilizations use. Human fusion reactors operate on completely different principles, which is why their weapons had no effect." Admiral Daun handed him a second data pad containing technical specifications. "More importantly, we've learned that most alien species have never developed anything comparable to our quantum torpedoes. Matter-antimatter weapons are apparently considered theoretical impossibilities by most galactic civilizations. This explained why the Soul's Fury had been so devastatingly effective. Human weapons technology had developed along different lines from the rest of the galaxy, giving them advantages that alien military planners had never anticipated. "What about their ship design?" Captain Jamin asked. "Impressive in terms of size and raw power, but fundamentally flawed from a tactical perspective. They build ships like mobile fortresses, designed to overwhelm enemies with superior firepower and absorb massive amounts of damage. They've never faced an enemy that could outmaneuver them." The Admiral gestured toward the tactical display, showing the debris field where the Vorthak fleet had died. "Human ship design philosophy emphasizes speed, agility, and precision strikes. We built the Soul's Fury to win battles through superior tactics rather than brute force." Chief Engineer Bo Ram joined the conversation, having just completed her own analysis of the captured alien technology. "Admiral, I've been studying their power systems and life support technology. In some areas, they're actually more advanced than we are." "Explain," Admiral Da Yun requested. "Their ships can operate for decades without resupply, and their life support systems are incredibly efficient. They've also developed gravity manipulation technology that we're only beginning to understand." Bo Ram activated a holographic display showing technical schematics. "If we could adapt some of their innovations to our own ship designs, we could significantly extend our operational range and crew comfort." Captain Jamin considered the implications. Humanity was learning that they had both advantages and disadvantages compared to other galactic civilizations. The key would be learning from their enemies while maintaining their own technological superiority. "Any word from the Vorthak Empire?" he asked. Admiral Da Yun consulted her own data pad. "Intelligence indicates that Admiral Kethvar successfully delivered your message to the Vorthak High Command. There are reports of significant political upheaval within their empire as different factions debate how to respond to their defeat. Are they planning another attack?" "Unlikely in the near term. They lost nearly 70% of their primary battle fleet in our engagement. It will take years for them to rebuild their forces, and there's no guarantee they could develop effective countermeasures to our technology. The Admiral paused and looked out at the construction site where human workers were building humanity's future among the stars. More importantly, other alien species are beginning to form alliances specifically to oppose Vorthak expansion. Our victory has inspired resistance movements across their empire. This was an unexpected consequence of the battle. By defeating the Vorthak so decisively, humanity had demonstrated that the alien empire could be beaten. Species that had lived in fear for generations were beginning to fight back. Lieutenant Hay-Wan approached with another communication update. Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. President Chen wants to speak with you directly. The main view screen activated to show the President of Earth sitting in her office overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Behind her, construction crews were visible working on what appeared to be massive new shipyards. Captain Jamin, congratulations on your victory. The entire planet owes you and your crew a debt that can never be repaid. Thank you, Madam President. We were just doing our duty. President Chen smiled. Your duty has changed the course of human history, Captain. I'm calling to inform you that the Soul's Fury has been designated as the flagship of humanity's first interstellar fleet. You'll be leading our expansion into the galaxy. Captain Jamin felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The battle had been just the beginning. Now humanity would venture out among the stars, not as conquerors, but as defenders of freedom and justice. Understood, Madam President. What are our orders? Explore, defend, and build. Show the galaxy that humanity can be both a reliable ally and a dangerous enemy. The age of human expansion begins now. As the transmission ended, Captain Jamin looked around his bridge at the crew that had made history. Navigator Sujin was already plotting courses to distant star systems. Weapons Officer Tae-ho was reviewing upgrades to the ship's armament. Communications Officer Min-ho was coordinating with the growing network of human outposts. Each member of his crew had played a vital role in humanity's first space battle. They had faced impossible odds and emerged victorious through skill, courage, and determination. Now they would lead humanity's expansion into a galaxy full of wonders and dangers. The Soul's Fury had shocked an alien armada and changed the balance of power in the galaxy. But more importantly, it had proven that humans belonged among the stars, not as subjects or slaves, but as equals who would fight for their place in the cosmic community. Captain Jamin settled back into his command chair and watched the stars beyond the view screen. Somewhere out there, other species were learning that a new power had emerged. A species that would defend the innocent, oppose tyranny, and never surrender in the face of overwhelming odds. The galaxy would never be the same. Humanity had arrived, and the universe had become a more dangerous place for those who would prey upon the weak. The Soul's Fury and her crew had written the first chapter of humanity's interstellar story, and it was a chapter that would be remembered for generations to come. The age of human expansion had begun,